You ready, Thani?
Yes.
Well, we are here to summarize the story of Little Nightmares and Very Little Nightmares, the Android prequel game, so that you can go into Little Nightmares 2 understanding what happens. Kinda.
It's important to keep in mind that Tarsier Studios, the developer of Little Nightmares, likes their mystery. So while we speculate, we don't actually have a lot of the answers.
I'm Lost.
And I'm Thanatos.
And let's get down to business, shall we? In Very Little Nightmares, you play as a girl in a yellow raincoat who, for some reason, are flying in a hot air balloon that crash lands into a mansion called the Nest. We don't know where she came from or why she's running away from something. We assume that she is. But we do know that she is incredibly unlucky because the Nest is a terrible place for a child to find themselves in. As you traverse the mansion, you start finding incredibly realistic child-sized dolls. You will also be hunted by 3 different enemies: the Craftsman, the Butler, and the Pretender. The Craftsman... Oh, god damn it. Listen, for anybody that's listening to this, I'm trying to say that word, but it's so hard. The Craftsman is responsible for the dolls. He takes real-life children and turns them into playthings, like a reverse Geppetto. He's pretty twisted, both figuratively and literally, as his legs look like they've been twisted around facing backwards. The Butler is there to care for the Pretender. Strangely though, he got his arms tied behind his back by golden handcuffs. You would think that would make him inefficient as a servant, but luckily he has the gift of telekinesis on his side, which he uses to crush you with whatever is nearby, like a washing machine or an iron. The most important of these enemies, however, is the Pretender. She is a child about the same age as you with the power to incinerate you with a single touch. The reason that she is called the Pretender is likely because she likes to play pretend with all of those former children, or it could be a reference to the aristocratic definition of a pretender, which is a person who claims or aspires to a title or position. It's speculated that this child might be groomed to take charge of the Maw, the ship that you find yourself in during Little Nightmares 1. This is somewhat backed up by the fact that you find the same magical eye surveillance thingy in the Nest and the Maw. But you don't just meet terrible people though. You encounter a girl in white several times during your escape and you take turns rescuing each other. It all culminates in a chase where you are being hunted and eventually cornered by the Pretender. The girl in white comes to the rescue by pushing a boulder on the Pretender in order to crush her tiny bones. Unfortunately, this doesn't quite work out and the Pretender lunges towards you. This causes both of you to lose balance and send you careening down the cliffside. Did I mention that there were a cliff there?
No, you didn't, but this just became much more of a superhero movie.
Well, they were on a cliff. It is presumed, though, that they both died. Not exactly the good ending, but this is Little Nightmares. What do you expect? However, there is one more thing to mention. There's an ending sequence that shows the girl in white moving down the cliffside and picking up the yellow raincoat that is now floating in the water, revealing that the girl in white is actually Six, the protagonist from Little Nightmares 1. You're up, Thani.
Whoa. Okay. An intermediate amount of time later, Six
almost
awakens.
Right. That's almost the right word.
Is that not it?
Indeterminate.
Oh
yes.
no! An indeterminate amount of time later, Six awakens from a dream of a woman resembling a geisha. Armed with only a lighter, she sneaks through the bowels of the Maw, a massive underwater iron vessel designed for much larger inhabitants. Throughout the Maw, she encounters several gnomes, small, skittish creatures that either flee from her or passively observe her efforts. She has the option to hug the gnomes, should she get close to one. Very cool. Through the prison, where captured children are held, Six evades the carnivorous leeches that infest its depths and a pair of artificial eyes that will turn her to stone should she be caught in its lights. Six also regularly experiences debilitating bouts of hunger.
And Thani, let me just interject for a moment. Did you know that during these feeding sequences, a shadow version of Six is watching you from the dark corners of the room?
Actually, no, I never noticed that there was anything else other than just me starving to death and trying to eat something.
I didn't expect you, but take a look at the images that I posted in the Discord. Just look at that. One, she's standing on top of the box.
Oh, I see her. Oh my gosh.
And on the other one, well, she's also standing on top of a box.
But higher up. Ooh.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. But we'll talk about that later. Continue on with your story, good sir.
Very well. After eating some bread offered by an imprisoned child, and of course being judged by a shadow person no less, Six is captured by the blind, long-armed janitor when he lures her into a cage with a piece of meat. She escapes, but makes no effort to help the other captured children. She falls into a room filled with piles of shoes and evades the unseen monster burrowing underneath.
It's a shoe shark.
It's foreshadowing to the water grandma. Ooh.
Mm.
The janitor eventually corners Six, and she severs his arms with a collapsing door, and that escalated quickly. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
Caught by another bout of hunger, Six is forced to eat a live rat. She travels to the kitchen, where children wrapped up in paper are being sent. Here, the grotesque twin chefs are preparing a large feast and pursue Six whenever she enters their line of sight. She makes her way outside to the hull of the maw, above the ocean waves afterwards. Scaling the hull, Six witnesses a procession of obese, sweeted guests marching into the maw from their vessel. They lumber into the Japanese-style dining hall, where they gorge themselves with food. The feast is overseen by the mysterious lady, the masked, geisha-like leader of the maw, and the woman from Six's dream. Ooh. Several guests scramble after Six, but she escapes. When she has another hunger attack, a gnome offers her a sausage. However, Six eats the gnome instead.
Gotta get that protein, dude.
I guess. She was, after the live rat, she was like, no, I'm upgrading further. Our sausage is not good enough. Six follows the lady up into her quarters, which are strewn with broken mirrors. Pursued by the lady, Six finds an unbroken mirror, which she uses to repel the lady when she tries to ambush her from the shadows. The sight of her own reflection causes the lady pain, and Six finally subdues her. As the lady lies defenseless and weakened, Six approaches her and experiences one final hunger attack. And if we've learned anything from upgrading her eating experience, she, of course, bites the lady's neck, killing her and absorbing her magical powers. Six then walks back through the dining area, surrounded by a dark aura. Some of the guests try to eat her along the way, but their lives are instantly drained by her new powers. She then passes through a door and proceeds up a staircase and out into the sunlight, while all the gnomes Six is hugged gather at the open doorway.
And that's Little Nightmares 1. That was quite a lot. And there's a bunch of questions that we kinda skipped over in this story, but do you know why Six ate the gnome, Thani?
Because he looked tasty?
I mean, that's as good of an explanation as you'll ever get. We don't actually know. Parser Studios, as we mentioned in the intro, they are quite fond of their mysteries, so there isn't really an answer to that question. But I do believe that your character Six must be kind of affected by whatever affects, the adults over there. And they are, eating children. They are desperate. If you can see, if there's one thing we know from that tidal wave of obese bodies trying to capture you, it's that something is driving these people crazy. Maybe the kids are immune to it, or maybe it takes a little while for them to turn into those beasts. But that might be it. It could also be because she has some sort of magical powers, which is also a really interesting question here. What is the magic at work in the world of Little Nightmares? Because the girl from the nest, the pretender, she can, destroy you by touching you. And on the wiki, I don't know how correct this is, but it's called energy absorption. And that is exactly what you do with the guests that try to touch you later on.
Oh my gosh. That's really interesting. So it's almost like she lives on through you in a way. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I have no idea if that's right or not, but clearly the Shadow 6 that you see, that could be part of the magic. It could be like a demon-like entity that just wants her to embrace that side of herself. And since she's a kid, well, what do you expect? They're not all that strong mentally, because they're children. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm hoping that we get some answers in Little Nightmare 2, where, we went from a ship to a new city. There is a new enemy. I think it's called the All Man or Thin Man, something like that. And I think he might be the person that is responsible for a lot of this.
It really does seem like there's a lot more going on in the background we don't know yet. And I really, really hope that Little Nightmares 2 can give us some much needed answers instead of just giving us more questions. Hopefully this tall man actually does give us some resolution so we can be like, oh yeah, that explains everything. Because I completely agree with you, Lost, that has to be what it is. As far as the hunger goes, 6 obviously being affected by whatever all the adults are being affected by. Because as you so elegantly put it, the tidal wave of obese people is very strong evidence. We would win that court case, Lost, 100%.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that we haven't talked about. In Little Nightmares 1, the first room, or one of the absolute first rooms that you enter, there is a man hanging from the ceiling. Man has obviously murdered himself. Now, there has been some speculation, some theories that this guy might have been the father of 6, and that the lady was the mother of 6, and that her name, 6, is just... she's the 6th child or something like that. But in the prequel game, Very Little Nightmares, there is a picture of the pretender, and she is flanked by 2 feet. Male feet and female feet, which we assume is the pretender's mother and father. And the male feet looks an awfully lot like the person who is currently hanging.
In my brain, I just pictured, like, through extreme feet analysis, we can concur that this hanging man is indeed the father.
Well, he has the same pants, he has the same shoes, and the mother is probably going to be a character in Little Nightmares 2, because I don't want to spoil this for anybody who's going in blind here, but it is, it's very, very strongly hinted at that character is going to be present. One more thing, because those feet, I find it so funny that they just have a painting of, a little girl and her parents, but her parents are just, feet. It reminds me so much about Cow and Chicken, where the parents of cow and chicken are...
Oh my god, Lost.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed when you mentioned cow and chicken yesterday that was what you were going to tie it into. Oh my god. It's so accurate.
Yeah, if you don't know about cow and chicken, it's a funny, if not really fucked up cartoon where there's a cow and a chicken who is brother and sister, and their parents are, normal humans. That's a lie. They're not normal humans. They are feet. There's like the dad wearing pants and the mother wearing a skirt. And in one episode of Cow and Chicken, they pulled the camera back, revealing that they don't have any upper bodies.
Oh my, you're serious? Oh my god.
Yeah, no, they exist only as feet.
Okay, well, it's weird because that doesn't explain why there's a talking cow and chicken, but it also kind of does. You know what I mean? Like, this world is
yeah,
a fever dream.
I mean, we may have gone way off course here, but I felt like that was important to mention.
Little Nightmares 2, more like Cow and Chicken, the sequel. Ooh.
That's a terrible joke, Thani.
And I messed it up too, and I stumbled. Oh!
Yeah, but we're still keeping it in.
No! No!
And I think